Hopefully everyone is doing wonderful on this fine day. You know, a few weeks ago, I did a lesson on Matthew chapter 27, verse 46. And what I want to do today is I want to add a few more verses and a few more scriptures to try to edify my position, right? And for those that didn't see that video, you know, for better context, you can watch that video, right? The breakdown of Matthew 27, verse 46. Now, again, family, this is just what I see. You may not see it, but for those that can see this, you know, all praise the Most High. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because of a conversation that I had a few days ago with a friend of mine and a friend of his. And in this conversation, we were talking about the laws that are in the Bible. And the gentleman said to me that he felt sorry for me because I was keeping those Old Testament laws. So I asked the question, why? First and foremost, why would you feel sorry for me, number one? And number two, why is it that we as a people, we repent for something if the laws are done away with? What are we repenting for? And also, what are we being judged for? Because there's a judgment day. So if there's no laws, what are we being judged for? And he couldn't answer. So we can ask other questions, right? And it was, what is sin? What is transgression? And what is iniquity? And again, he couldn't answer those questions. Now, again, I'm not a biblical scholar. I'm not a, Hebrew expert or what have you. But I am seeking for truth in this journey. And if I'm going to follow the instructions of this book in the deity and the covenant that was given to a group of people, I want to make sure that I am doing my part because my soul's salvation is at stake. With that being said, let me start off by giving all glory and honor to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and to His Son, the ever throne, Yeshua HaMashiach. I would like to also send out a greeting to the brothers and sisters that's trying to teach and reach the children of the diaspora, and also to the Gentiles that are gathered with us in sincerity. To you guys, I say, Shalom. Like I said in that previous video, I started off in Matthew chapter 27, verse 46. But today we're going to start off in Exodus. Exodus 20, verse 8. We're going to read on, but, we're going to start off at verse 8. Because verse 8 is what I really want to focus on. But we're going to, for better context, we're going to read through. Right? So Exodus chapter 20. Start off at verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shall thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath of Yahweh, the Elohim. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy sons, nor thy daughters, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. So verse 8, right? Verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day, right? Remember the Sabbath day. Now, in that video that was in question, we did Matthew, right? 27, 46. Eli, lama sabbath. And we were told that means, my Lord, why have thou forsaken me? Now, I've also seen sabbath spelled this way as well, right? That's why I said we have to be very careful, because the adversary has tried to corrupt the book, so we have to be very careful and do our own due diligence. But anyway, you guys see it, right? That's really serious about calling out the foolishness. We can see Sabbath, right? We can see Sabbath right there. We can see that. We can see that. In Exodus, it says, remember the Sabbath. So why would he forsake it? For to forsake something is to forget it. But here he says, remember the Sabbath. Remember the Sabbath. Again, that's why I had the position that I have. Also, when you start to research, you ask questions like, how to say Sabbath in Bantu language, you're going to get all these different variations of the same word. Again, that's why I know, who the people are. Again, going back to the language, that's why they strip my answers of our native language. Again, to hide this, to change the names and, take the culture and so on and so forth. Again, this is what the system has done, which is a whole other subject within itself. But again, those that have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, we can get this. Let's go to the book of, let's go to Luke. Luke 22, we're going to start off at 1, and then jump down to 15. Luke 22, verse 1, and then jump on to 15. Now the feast of unleavened bread draw nigh, which is called the Passover. And the chief priests and scribes sought how they might kill him, for they feared the people. So they was trying to crucify the Messiah. Verse 15. And he said unto them, what desired I desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer? For I say unto you, I will not any more eat thereof until it be fulfilled in the kingdom of Elohim. And he took the cup and gave thanks and said, take this and divide it amongst yourselves. For I say unto you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of Elohim shall come. And he took the bread and gave thanks and brake it, and gave it unto them, saying, this is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. So the Passover is a high holy Sabbath, a high holy day. And he's telling them to do this in remembrance of me. Again, do this in remembrance of me. Do we see what's going on here? Do this in remembrance of me. Again, he wouldn't forget it, wouldn't forsake it. It's part of a covenant. See, tell you what, let's do this. Let's go to Leviticus. Let's go to Leviticus 23. We'll start off at verse 1. Leviticus 23, verse 1. And Yahweh spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and said to them concerning the feast of Yahweh, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. Again, the same thing we going over They were doing the same thing in the book of Luke. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is a Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is a Sabbath of Yahweh in all your dwellings. These are the feasts of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. In the 14th day of the first month at even is the Passover, is Yahweh's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread unto Yahweh. Pattern. Consistently doing the same thing. This is the Passover of Yahweh. See, they did this in their first captivity. Let's go back to Luke, but we're going to go to Luke 21. Let's go to Luke 21. Luke 21. Let's start off at verse 23. Let's start off at verse 23. But woe to them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and a wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So, they shall be led away captive. Which again, this is why in the book of Leviticus, he said, do this in all your dwellings, no matter what. Because again, this is part of the covenant to remember. Remember the covenant that was given to your forefathers. Because I'm going to fulfill that promise. I'm going to send you a sign. Jerusalem shall be trodden of the Gentiles. You're going to go back into captivity again. But do this in remembrance of me. The Messiah was again, letting them know, you're going to go back into captivity, but until all these things fulfilled, Jerusalem shall be trodden of the Gentiles. But the next time I see you guys, we're going to partake in this. We're going to finish this. We're going to finish the Passover. We're going to finish having the wine and the bread, but only in the kingdom. But do this in remembrance of me, because you're going to go in captivity. This is why the Gentiles set on hiding this from us and giving us, again, Easter and Thanksgiving and Christmas and all these things as confusion. Well, my people don't want to, again, Jesus came and fulfilled all that. We don't have to do all that anymore, okay? Tell you what, let's do this. Let's go to Ezekiel. Give me a second, family. I'm trying to remember. Let's go to Ezekiel 20. Ezekiel 20, right? Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12. Moreover, also I give them my Sabbaths, to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am Yahweh that sanctified them. But the house of Israel rebelled against me in the wilderness. They walked not in my statutes, and despised my judgment, which if a man do, he shall even live in them. And my Sabbaths, they greatly polluted them. Polluted. Then I said, I would pour out my wrath, my fury upon them in the wilderness to consume them. He gave us the Sabbaths as a sign between me and him. Between us and him. He gave us his Sabbaths. Again, the Messiah was crucified on a high holy Sabbath. And in that, he still kept the weekly Sabbath in his death, burial, and the resurrection. Remember the Sabbath. Remember the Passover. It's the Passover lamb. Let's do this. We're gonna, let's do this. Let's go to Matthew. Let's go to Matthew. Chapter 12, verse 8. For the Son of Man is Lord over the Sabbath day. Again, it makes sense. The Messiah is Lord of the Sabbath. So how can our people say they believe in the Messiah, but you don't want to keep the day that he's Lord of? To do this in remembrance of him. Again, not just the weekly Sabbath, but the high holy Sabbaths. These are the appointed times, right? We're gonna close out at Luke. Let's go back to Luke. Chapter 1. Let's start off at verse 68. Luke chapter 1, verse 68. Blessed be Yahweh of Elohim of Israel, for he had visit and redeem his people, and had raised up a horn of salvation, the Messiah, right, for us in the house of his servant David, as he spoke by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we shall be saved, because that was a promise, that's an oath, that's a covenant that was given, from our enemies and from the hands of all that hate us, to perform the mercy promise to our fathers, and to remember the holy covenant. Again, there we go, remember. The oath which he swore to our father Abraham. Remember. But somebody trying to tell you forget. Well, don't worry about that. We don't have to do that Old Testament law no more. We have to keep that covenant no more. I mean, this is just what I see, family. Again, which makes more sense, right? Dealing with Matthew 27. He ain't forsaken him. He was given as a token to remember the covenant. This is why we're supposed to keep the covenant, keep the Passover, to remember the promise, the oath, right? That was given to our forefathers. We're supposed to be keeping this until the return. But anyway, family, that's, like I said, that's what I see. You may not see that. With that being said, as usual, peace, love. Shalom.